Hey, Taurus rising. It's Mandy Ray of Ecstatic Astrology here for the October and November forecast for 2023 for your rising sign. Some people watch it for their sun and moon sign as well. We're going to do a little bit of looking back at the solar eclipse since I'm recording this on Friday, October 27th. And then we're going to look at November. So let's go ahead and dig into it. We're going to share my little infographics that I made. And what you see is a calendar that's going to list some of the things going on. And I'm going to circle the houses that these things happen in for you. Okay, so first things first, we're just going to go over the last solar eclipse. That was October 14th. For you, that would have been in your sixth house, which is, where is the sixth? Right over here. Work, service, habits, health, and healing. Now, the sixth house is really about your daily life. Okay, it's about your rituals, your routines. Pets fit into the sixth house. Work, co-workers, all sixth house topics. So the south node is in Libra. Okay, and the south node is what we're separating from. So when you talk about separation from a relationship with something about your daily life. Now, it could also be relationships in your daily life. It could also be a way of doing things or a way of communicating. Libra is about communication. So that's where the solar eclipse was. But the funny thing is that it was ruled by Venus, which is still in Virgo, actually. So again, I'm recording this here today, the 27th. And then we've got Venus and Virgo even today, but it ruled the solar eclipse. Virgo is your fifth house. That's creativity, courage, purpose, romance, and children. All right. So creativity, courage, purpose, romance, children. That's what Venus, the ruler of the solar eclipse, was pointing at. So when you talk about letting go of something in your daily life, you may be looking into am I even having a good time in my daily life? Is it working out for me and my kids? If you don't have kids, is it inner child and being seen, creative? It may be that you want more of that in your life. Okay. So that was the solar eclipse and Venus and Virgo for you. Now let's move on. We're going to move on to today because today is October 27th. Mars and Mercury are now in Scorpio. In fact, Mars moved into Scorpio on October 11th. It's been there for a few weeks. Mercury's been in Scorpio as well for a while since the 23rd, and the sun. So we've got all three, Mars, Mercury, and the sun in Scorpio. Scorpio is your seventh house of relationships. Okay. So Mars is action, ego, can be the warrior, can be frustration. It's a traditional malefic, which can be a little nerve wracking, I think, to have Mars in your seventh house of relationships. But it's trying to stir up the deep parts of yourself. That's Scorpio. And you have Scorpio on the seventh house. Scorpio can be a little obsessive with Mars there. Mercury being there is the way we think, the way we talk. And a Mercury in Scorpio transit is really about speaking to the things that we don't normally speak to, because Scorpio hides things. It's fixed water. It's like the swamp, right? It's the emotions we don't let go of easily. And so Mars and Mercury there bring out some maybe strong words in your seventh house of relationships. It's going to be there as well when we have the lunar eclipse tomorrow, the 28th. Okay. So we've got the 28th here, Saturday, October, lunar eclipse in Taurus. Okay, so what does that mean? That means the sun is in Scorpio, the opposite of Taurus, your seventh house of cooperation, relationships, agreements. The full moon is in the first house, self-independence, instincts, and identity. So it's worth noting that not only is the full moon there at 5 degrees of Taurus, but Jupiter's there and Uranus is there. So I'm going to be referring to this area. Uranus has been in your first house of self since around 2018. Jupiter's been there for this year, most of this year. So I think it was in Aries, though, for the first half. So it's been maybe since May, it's been in Taurus. So Jupiter, Uranus, and the full moon there. But it's not just a full moon, is it? It's a lunar eclipse. And lunar eclipses sometimes signify emotional endings. Lunar is your emotions, your inner world, but it's with the North Node. Now, the North Node is in Aries, so it's a hybrid eclipse. Basically, for the last 18 months or so, the North Node was in Taurus, and that's where the eclipses were happening. Now the North Node, which looks like a little horseshoe on a chart, has moved into Aries, yet the full moon is just over the line in Taurus. So you've got both happening at the same time. Aries is your 12th house of retreat, self-reflection, transcendence, and release. Okay. That's what's about to be developing. I think this full moon is more like the closing of a chapter of all of the identity, self, instincts, autonomy, authenticity, changes you've gone through, development. That's Jupiter, develops truth, finding the truth of it. And this full moon's pointing at it and saying, look at what you've done with yourself. It's been very good. And then the North Node being in Aries is like, now it may be time for a break, maybe time to come back into your spirituality. And that's where the North Node will be. And in fact, next eclipse in April, the solar eclipse will be in that 12th house area. Sometimes the 12th house can be confusing, but because this full moon is more in Taurus, I think that's going to be the overwhelming theme: self, independence, instincts, identity. It's with Jupiter. Just keep in mind the opposite sign, Scorpio, your 7th house of relationships and agreements, is also being focused on, and it will continue to be focused on. Okay, so before we round out October, let me talk about Venus trine Uranus, okay? Venus is in your 5th house of creativity, courage, purpose, romance, children, inner child. Venus is in Virgo, which is exacting in particular and wants to get it right, okay? So you may be organizing your life around, what's going on in your inner child, in your creative world, right? What do you want in your heart? What is your heart's purpose? That is supported by Uranus, change and freedom in your 1st house of self and identity. So the changes that you're undergoing are both creative and purpose focused, and also identity and self focused. But it's both, right? It's about being seen, about having fun, about bringing joy into your life. That's the 30th and 31st. Now let's go ahead and switch to November, which is my birthday month. All right. Here we are. We got November. Let me pull it up here because I got the other one in front. I need to pull this up. There we go. Okay. Perfect, I think. Is that good enough? It won't go over. There we go. Needed it to go over just a little more. So I hope you guys are able to follow this easy, because I'm really enjoying how easy it is for me to circle where it is for you. Okay, so we go into Wednesday, November 1st, and the sun, which is in Scorpio, 7th house of relationships, is opposite to Jupiter, 1st house of self. So this has people being extra, extra, extra. Now, when you have these type of relationship transits, it could result in something super passionate, right? Mars is there as well in Scorpio, but it could also be obsession in Scorpio. It could also be, the sun opposite Jupiter. A lot of people want a piece of you and you need some space, right? There's many, many different ways this comes out, but it can be extra spicy. People are just extra around things like that. Then we go into the weekend, which is kind of strange. I'm going to say that. November 3rd and 4th. On the 3rd, Venus, which is in your 5th house of creativity, opposes its opposite, which can be some tension. It can be some negotiation, friends, networks, and long-term aspirations. So this may be a situation in which you don't know where your creativity starts and where someone else's ends, or if you're being seen the way you want to be seen in a group, if your creativity is shining through. It could be a lot of that, but Neptune tends to confuse, so just keep that in mind, especially if your goals seem unclear around that time. And then the 4th, Mercury opposes Uranus. Okay, Mercury in the 7th house of relationships, Uranus in the 1st house of self. This is such an interesting thing because Mercury is in a water sign, and it is about emotion, especially in Scorpio, and it's in your 7th house of relationship, opposite 1st house of self, Taurus, earth sign. Then we've got Venus in an earth sign in your 5th house of creativity and inner child, And Neptune in a water sign of friends, networks, long-term aspirations. That's Pisces, Neptune's in Pisces. And then on top of it, Saturn goes direct in your 11th house of friends, networks, long-term aspirations. And Saturn is saying, this is where you need to push to structure, where you have responsibility, networks, long-term aspirations. So, it could be a situation in which, friends are coming and going, you're getting involved in new communities, you're making sure you are seen for your true authentic self inside these communities. But that weekend is going to be nothing short of interesting, not bad or scary, just interesting. Saturn can feel heavy, but Saturn direct is really, I think it's going to be clear up a little bit of what's been going on recently with the retrograde. So Moon in Leo, I have this because that is just a blip on the calendar. The moon transits Leo. That's your fourth house of emotional security, integrity, home, and family, and your roots, right? So that's going to square your self, the stuff in Taurus, and it's going to square the Sun, Mars, and Mercury in your seventh house of relationships. So this is the cross of matter, if you will. It is the fundamental parts of yourself, and you're having these come up during this. So watch for triggers around that time, and all of those themes. So the 6th, November 6th, Venus trines Pluto. Venus in your fifth house, Pluto in your ninth house, higher learning, beliefs, new horizons, travel, truth, education, adventure. Venus in your fifth house of creativity and courage. So this is really nice because it feels like a time when you can be empowered in your truth, I think is a good way to put it. That's what I like anyway. I like that thought, being empowered in your truth, and your creativity also. So I lost my things. There they are. I lost them. I had to find them again. All right. So that was the 6th. Oh, also Mercury trines Neptune. Okay. So interesting. So you've got Venus trine Pluto, ninth to fifth house. And then you've got Mercury in your seventh house of relationships, trine Neptune in your 11th house of networks, long-term aspirations. These are both supportive. Trines are always supportive. So all of these themes are being supported at the time. It looks like a time when you may step up and do something. And that's why I got the Rubik's Cube there. It's like something locks into place around this time. On November 8th, Venus moves into Libra. That's really exciting. Venus is at home in Libra. So let's see here. Where is it? I'm looking to make sure. Yeah, it's your 6th house. That's right. All right. So Venus is in your 6th house of work, service, health, habits, and healing. Okay. On November 8th. Where's my circle? Here we go. So when you have Venus come in here, typically brings gifts, and it will bring gifts to the 6th house area, your daily life, your health, your habits, your healing. But keep in mind on the 29th, Venus will conjoin the South Node, which is kind of the karmic past separation point. Okay. So as Venus makes its move through Libra, you can just be taking in what the themes are that are coming up as it approaches the South Node. Okay. All right. So we've got Mercury and Sagittarius, Mars opposed Uranus. This weekend's going to be, I'm not totally looking forward to this weekend, I have to be honest with you. All right. So Mercury and Sagittarius, that is your 8th house of empowerment, shared resources, sexuality, and contracts. Okay. So Mercury is moving into there. That's where your mind goes. But it's square to Saturn, which is your 11th house of friends, networking, long-term aspirations, and goals. So you could have a situation in which, you are wanting to enter into a contract, but it may be not exactly in line with your goals. Or vice versa. It could be that, you have this goal, but you're about to have to invest a bunch of money in it, and it just feels really heavy. So those two situations are not really driving. Saturn can be blockages in those thematic areas. At the same time, Mars in your 7th house of relationships and agreements opposes Uranus, which is change and upheaval, and your 1st house of self. Okay, so it looks like friendships and partnerships and even like contracts, like business partnerships and romantic and money and all of that could come up around this time, Just keep that in mind. It won't last forever. It definitely will last the weekend though. And then there will be some other things that light that up again. Okay, so November 13th, new moon in Scorpio opposite Uranus. So you're setting new intentions for relationships based on changes to self around this time. Okay. And I think that's the simplest way to put it. Maybe being more empowered, maybe not putting up with crap that you don't want to, all sorts of stuff like that. That's the new moon. You know, that's why I have the old way, new way sign. It's like, well, we're doing something new this time. 14th through 16th, Mercury sextiles Venus. So Mercury is going to be in your eighth house of empowerment, shared resources, and sexuality and contracts. And it's going to sextile Venus in your, but Venus is in Libra. Hold on. Let me go look at this on the chart. Yes, that's right. Okay, my poor brain. I just had to like, sometimes it's a lot, right? Yeah, it's Libra. Okay, sixth house to eighth house. Woo! You get jumbled up sometimes when you're doing this. All right. So eighth house to sixth house, that's where Venus will be. Okay, so these two things are in an opportunistic sextile. Mercury, the way you think, in the area of empowerment, shared resources, sexuality contracts, other people's money, investments, share how you share yourself with others, boundaries, right? And then in an opportunistic sextile to work, service, habits, and health. And so you can think, you know, maybe this is a time when you do sign a contract for a new job or something like that. But either way, it's a good time to communicate with those closest to you about these themes if something's not working out, because your mind and your heart are in sync around this time. Okay. And then we got the all powerful and wizarding Mars Cazimi in your seventh house of relationships. So Mars Cazimi is Mars and the sun coming together, and it's known as a audience with the king. Mars being ego and action, and sometimes frustration, passion, motivation, gets a message with the sun, the powerhouse of our solar system, right? In your seventh house of relationships. So good time to meet someone, good time to get rid of someone, good time to empower yourself. um it's in its home sign. Okay, Mars is in its home sign. It rules Scorpio, traditionally speaking. This Cazimi is pretty close to sextile Pluto as well in your ninth house of higher learning, beliefs, new horizons, travel, and truth. Okay, so Pluto's there. And this Cazimi, I think, is very empowering for you on a philosophical level, and also on a deep roots, your root chakra level, especially with regards to relationships. I think it's almost that you've figured out exactly what you want and exactly what you're not going to tolerate anymore, and you're ready. Okay. All right. So then let's go to, on the 20th, the moon briefly squares Mars from Aquarius. And I just wanted to put that out there because Aquarius is your 10th house of career, and it could be a moment of integration. Let me put it that way. It's integrating identity, relationships, home and family, and career on the 20th. Can be a little triggering. It's going to square Mars. And then on the 22nd, this is bringing up that blockage that I was saying, the obstacles. It's like, I don't know where to go. I don't know how to get over this wall, but I'm going to try. The sun moves into Sagittarius on the 22nd, and Mars moves into Sagittarius on the 24th. Here's the thing about that. Sagittarius, your eighth house of empowerment, shared resources, sexuality, and contracts. It's great. It's a pack of wild horses. That's why I chose a horse for one of them. But it's square to Saturn, and Saturn is in your 11th house of friends, networks, long-term aspirations, and goals. This happened before on the 10th with Mercury and Sagittarius square Saturn. So these blockages are going to come up. So on the 10th, it's good to just be aware of what's going on, because those themes will come back up. And these two things are going to, one is going to find an obstacle in some way that you're going to have to make it past. And it could be that, you know, the group is asking too much from you, because eighth house is investments. Remember, it could be money, it could be time, and you're having to invest a lot of time or something to get to your goal. It just, sometimes Saturn just feels like just shoveling the shit. You know what I mean? Okay, we're almost to the end of November. We've got full moon in Gemini, square Saturn, the 27th. So Gemini is your second house of money, value, security, assets, and there's a full moon there. The sun will be in your eighth house of empowerment, shared resources, sexuality, and contracts. So it could be that you got a gift. I hope so. Let's hope so. It is square Saturn in your 11th house of goals, right? So there may be a sense that you haven't quite gotten where you want to get yet, especially money wise. But if you put in the work and the networking, the long-term aspirations, the goals, and just slog away at it, that's going to be helpful for you in the future. And there may be an idea that you get. There may be an insight that you get around this time, because the full moon in Gemini is ruled by Mercury. Mercury's in Sagittarius. So full moon in Gemini, the sun's in Sagittarius, Mercury's in Sagittarius. What rules Sagittarius? I'm not quizzing you. I'm just actually talking myself through it. It's Jupiter. Jupiter is in your first house of self, independence, instincts, and identity. Okay. So there is a sense that you are a part of this puzzle. And that's in Taurus, ruled by Venus. And Venus is in your sixth house of work, daily life, health, and habits. So it just seems like there is this sense that you need to keep doing the routine, putting in the work, and making yourself available to those goals, to those aspirations. And it's going to benefit you in the long run. Last but not least, Venus conjoins the South Node on the 29th. That is in your sixth house of work, service, health, and habits, right? And healing. So this whole career thing that keeps coming up, or work thing that keeps coming up, is like, I'm not doing this the same way anymore once Venus hits the South Node. And it could be relationship related as well, because Venus in Libra is a relationship transit period. And the South Node is about redoing, moving away from maybe separation. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. I will see you on the flip side for December into January. I'm going to do both. I'm going to try to do a year ahead preview. So we'll see how that goes. Taurus rising. Maybe with Saturn moving off of the square to my Mercury in January, I'll get better at it. Saturn square my Mercury. So remember, November 10th, just, send a prayer to me, because that's going to be my natal Mercury return with Saturn there square to it. And it's everyone's going to experience what I've been experiencing the last month, which is not, it kind of is it's an obstacle to the way you talk, to the way you communicate, to the way you think, and it can be rough. So thanks for sticking in there with me. I'll see you in December for the next update. Peace.